Hey guys.
Hi,
Hello,
Josh.
Josh.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, happy Halloween. Halloween is a very special day for me. We released our first ship, our first film, Ghost Ship, on Halloween, and we did that because it was a zombie themed deal. But then, it's always kind of been a deal where it's fun to release these films on the anniversary of that. So it was really hard. I haven't slept in 3 days, and so I'm a little punch drunk, but
That's okay.
I'm glad
we'll take you anyway.
we crossed the finish line.
Yeah, I had a question. I had a question real quick.
Go ahead.
The Klingons in the film,
Mhm.
were they just wearing masks because, of course, the atmosphere on the planet and was uncompatible with Klingon physiology, or was it just because she ran out of makeup and budget and all?
Both are true. We actually started doing that in Air and Darkness, which was a film that we released on January 1st. And, we didn't want to have to go through doing all of that Klingon stuff. And we were going to do this thing where there was smoke and all this on the planet. So we found those, and it was COVID, when we were shooting, really the height of the pandemic. And so we had the Starfleet officers and kind of the masks that they wore in the original series. And then we put the Klingons in those masks, and it kind of worked. And we decided we just really liked those masks, and we kind of painted them. And so that's kind of become the default Avalon universe, Klingon stormtrooper mask, essentially.
Okay.
We have a comment here from Power.
Yep.
Go for it.
Can't miss the October 31st release date. We all know that each year, for better and for worse. LOL. Oh, Josh.
That's Sam, who did our CG. Did an amazing job. What I really, really love the most about what he did for this film is he actually designed that refit Constitution class. Like, he was the one who came up with, okay, the nacelles are going to look like this, the deflector is going to look like that. And he put a lot of attention into the texturing of the hull. And that's something that I appreciated very much. And then when I was describing the go to warp shot there at the end, I said I wanted it to look like Star Trek 4, the end of Star Trek 4, where the Enterprise A goes to warp. And what he did, which was really neat, was he kind of combined the Star Trek 4 shot with the Star Trek the motion picture shot, and then he did a motion picture type warp effect, but he made it unique to Avalon universe, which I really thought was neat.
Well, it's good to give you your own spin on it now that you guys are kind of separating yourself from the Prime universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you guys have been, but I mean, I feel like in this movie, you guys have really started to hit home the fact that you guys are separating the universes from the Prime universe.
And what I wanted to accomplish too was sort of to establish what the cause of that was. There was a Discovery episode where they actually acknowledged the Kelvin universe and why it separated from the Prime universe. And so we kind of did the same thing here, where we said, the entrance of the aliens into our reality in Ghost Ship was what caused the two universes to diverge. And if you watch that post-credit scene, what you're seeing is in the Prime universe, that's the events of Ghost Ship, where Captain Allenby and Archer and Mason simply beam aboard the Excalibur from the Enterprise, and there are no Ghost Ship aliens or zombies. They just, we're just going to rig the ship for towing and no big deal. Whereas in the Avalon universe, which is where the alien ended up, there was the misadventure with the zombies and all of that.
I have to ask regarding Eric Menard. Is he another version of Eric Menard in your universe, or is he the same Eric Menard from his universe?
He is, yeah, he's a doppelganger. He is the doppelganger of his Prime universe counterpart, and his life will go a little differently in the Avalon universe. You're going to see some unique events to his life and his story there that are different than the Prime. However, I will spoiler alert in that we will see a character that he's played before in Constar. We're going to see the Phantom, which is his mirror universe doppelganger, will make an appearance in the Avalon universe next year.
I like the Phantom the most out of all the characters that he plays, by the way.
Well, you're going to see him.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that if there's ever any need for Eric's personal dear Klingon friend, Crorath, the Klingon
You
ambassador,
got it, man.
to show up in the Avalon universe.
He's always trying to sell himself, man.
Hey, you got to be your own advocate, man.
Hey,
I love it.
I just got another paying gig as an actor this morning. So,
Congratulations.
I gotta hustle myself as best I can without an agent. And with things right now, I can't really do much on stage or, terribly active. So
I was saying to Pixie how I loved that shot of her on the precipice and like with the drone shot and everything. I mean that was a great shot. Like that, I almost got well. I know I did. I got goosebumps when I was watching. I'm like, oh, that's such a good shot. I've done a little bit of camera work and a lot of editing in my time, and I know I'm like, there's certain things you look at and you're like, that was a good shot, and that was a good like. So I want to just say, that did you actually record that like yourself? Like, did you control the drone and make sure everything was okay?
So if you want to know the filmmaking, sort of the filmmaking cheats, and there's so many filmmaking cheats. So we didn't, when you see her walking and she walks up to the edge and then you go out to the shot going around the mountain. When we got the close up of her standing at the precipice where you just see her in the tricorder, she wasn't actually standing on the mountain. We filmed that at the base of the mountain with the sky behind her because we weren't going to climb up that, and because that was a legit mountain that she had to climb to the top of.
That's what she said. I was like,
yeah, we weren't going to climb up to the top of that thing with the film gear, so we shot her at the base of it with the sky, and then when she got to the top, I flew the drone up to her, and yeah, I operated it and the camera, which is fun. It's something I do, and I really love that we had a chance to use a drone in one of our films for the first time. It was a lot of fun.
It gives it more of a cinematic feel. I mean, you got all these movies with budgets, and even before drones were a thing, I mean, they had to have cranes and helicopters and all this stuff. So it's nice to see like that this type of cinematic, cinematography is not cinematic, epic cinematography is able to be utilized by, like the fan film era, because it gives it a bit of a scope that it's, because a lot of fan films are like, oh, up and close and personal because you don't want to see what's behind them or whatnot. Whereas nowadays it's getting more and more where we can actually pan out a little bit and you don't have to have such close shots, and you can absorb like with all the sets and stuff that you guys use. And as I said, like the drone shots and stuff, you can actually pan out and give a scope to everything that you guys have doing. And that's what really
it's amazing how technology has made filmmaking kind of something anyone can do if they just set their mind to it.
Yeah, just don't let any of the studios hear that, because
I guess my advantage is that I've been doing production for a long time, but also that I graduated from film school. And you talk about the sets. One funny film trick is that cave was one wall. It was literally one wall. Like Glenn Wolfe, we shot it out at Dan Reynolds' place. He actually let us shoot on his own property at his own house. He had like a facility in his backyard, wasn't a shed, but it was more like of a workshop or type. It used to be one of his studios. And Glenn went in there and turned the place into a cave, but it was one wall. And so it was like, I had to go back to my film school days, to my 35 millimeter course director, a guy named Rob Toscani. And he had all these little tricks for making a set look bigger than it is. And so I had to kind of use screen direction and some trickery that I learned in film school to like make it look like it was actually a cave when it was just one wall.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, we kind of realized there was something along those lines, and then you obviously use that same wall, I guess, for when they were around that space egg in the other cave.
You guys like those shiny space objects, like
yeah.
So the thing is that the deal with the egg is it was an Easter egg of an Easter egg. So it was the 23rd century version of the Ferengi thought control device from Next Generation, which you see there's a Ferengi at the end, and so that was sort of what that was. And so it was just kind of, my thing is I always do callbacks and Easter eggs, and so that was an Easter egg of an Easter egg. So I was making fun of myself in that scene, And then the other aspect of it was that we were actually making fun of a previous episode the whole film. So we had this film we did called Demons, where they found this artifact that was,
Yes.
determined the fate of the entire universe or whatever. And then they were fighting Klingons, and so we were kind of poking at ourselves a little bit. And I've always thought that a show or whatever, has to have the ability to kind of like make fun of themselves a little bit. My favorite episode of Stargate SG-1 is Wormhole Extreme, and they spend that whole episode making fun of themselves. And so like sometimes you've got to do that. So this was kind of our episode where we made fun of ourselves, and it was fun.
Yeah, being self-referential is always great. I mean, look at Lower Decks. That's kind of what Lower Decks is just being self-referential.
Yeah.
No, but I give you credit for your directing and your editing, because there were some moments where we had to figure out what was going on, like when they touched the egg and then they were fighting each other because they were both hallucinating and so on. And on a couple of times, Pixie's character, she was just imagining attacking Klingons and stuff like that. There was no real hand holding on that. We had to figure out for ourselves, and I very much appreciate that. But that goes down
Thank you
to how well you shot it and edited it to make us understand that without us being explained it, which was very good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That was really exactly what we were going for. You always do want the audience to be able to have to figure it out. Like if you're not engaging the viewer, if the viewer isn't like getting into the world and trying to figure out whatever the mystery is, then you're failing. And that's what I always appreciate when I watch sci-fi, is I want to get my mind into it, go, what's going on here? So thank you. That's very sweet.
Yeah. It's good, because I think some people underestimate their audience and think they're all fucking idiots and not being able to figure things out for ourselves. And you just yourself as a filmmaker didn't, and that's what I liked about what you did. And it kind of reminded me of certain things I've seen in the DC universe, where we saw one time Superman fighting Wonder Woman because they're both hallucinating, thinking each other is an evil person and stuff, and it would harken back to that. But I like that. That was pretty cool. The person who played the Romulan seemed like an old geezer.
So that's the Romulan was the audio guy, and he's a friend of mine that I've known for 30 years, and he's like, if his name's Earl. And he's the neatest guy you'll ever meet in your entire life. Just like a brilliant, gifted filmmaker and writer, and could talk about anything for hours. He's one of my best friends in the whole world. And he's been saying for a long time, he's like, I want to do a fan film where I get to play a Romulan. And he just kept saying it over and over again. I want to play a Romulan in a fan film. I did another film. His favorite is werewolves. He loves werewolves. So I had another movie where I made him a werewolf so that he could, hey, you got to play werewolf. And so he always talks about how he wants to play a Romulan. So I had him play the Romulan soldier in this movie, just so he could, hey, I got to, and he loved it. When we got to the end of that day, he was like, man, I got to play a Romulan. And, that's the reason you do this as a filmmaker, is to have those experiences. And I will say that this project is probably the project I'm the most proud of, as far as, and I'm not saying maybe how the movie turned out, that my opinion's out on that. Like, I don't know yet. I have to give it a few days, but the experience is what I'm most proud of, because this movie really had to overcome some obstacles. It was a situation where we shot this movie 3 times.
That's what Pixie was saying.
Yeah, that's what Pixie was.
I have to step away for a couple minutes, so go ahead. Zam's gonna take over here, but I'll hopefully be back before you guys finish.
Okay.
So as you were saying, it got had to be reshot 3 times, I believe, because certain actors they stepped away from the project.
Well, it's interesting. It endured a lot of adversity. The first time that we tried to shoot it, the only footage that was salvaged was the stuff at the very beginning, where she's in the desert with the cactuses. That was shot in Phoenix, Arizona. And, you know, there was a situation where she had another actor that she was going to be in the film with. And there was a jealousy issue. There was a personality conflict, and that erupted into some really inappropriate behavior on set. And it couldn't continue. And it was one of those things where everybody walked away from it, not talking to anybody else.
Oh, wow.
And then, so we had a person that was, had volunteered to finance the project, and that person did not fulfill their promise. So we were in a situation where we're like, well, we can't go back out to Phoenix, Arizona and reshoot it. And then, of course, we can't count on these people over here to do what they say they're going to do. And that first shoot, I sort of handed the responsibility off to planning the shoot off to someone else. Became a disaster. And so we're sitting around going, what are we going to do? How are we going to salvage this? And Pixie was the one who stepped up. Pixie was the one who messaged me and said, I'm going to make sure that you finish this film, because she believed in the script and she believed in the story and she believed in what we were doing. And she personally financed the shoot.
Oh,
and
wow.
so she paid for that movie that we just watched.
Cool.
She and her husband, Aaron McNeil. And then Aaron, who is the nicest guy, the coolest dude. He's in the military, but he's real chill. Just a straight up hardworking guy. He became our executive producer and took care of us and made sure we had everything we needed. And we all enjoyed the process so much, we started a production company together, 249 Productions. So, but we had all kinds of other adversity too. We had an actor that we hired to replace the first one, and then she didn't finish the project because she ended up getting another gig. And then, we leveled up. The ultimate aim of that was we ended up with Jennifer Rader, who was the best actor by far who could have played that part. And that was supposed to be a one-off character. And she played the part so well that we decided that character is going to be a permanent cast member.
And that's the Native American chick, yeah?
Yeah. So we were so happy with what she did. We're going to put her in every film. And go ahead.
Jennifer Rader, no relation to Darth.
I know. But her brother Justin is a nationally renowned martial arts professor who totally kicks butt. He's a jiu-jitsu instructor and a mixed martial artist, and she is trained in mixed martial arts, which is a lot of the fight scenes. She was able to help us with the choreography and stuff. She did a great job.
Yeah, I would have a gig for him if I finished writing these scripts I've got. Because I got a friend who's a big martial artist who said, Star Trek, no, I do Star Wars.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, hell, what's the point of having friends like that if they're not going to come through?
And then finally, what's really interesting to me about this film, because I talk about what I call the 4 films. There's the film in your head. There's the film that you write. There's the film that you shoot, and the film that you edit. And the film that you end up with will not be anything like the film in your head, because you're putting it through all these filters of reality. And this film, to me, is one of the biggest examples of this, because originally we were supposed to shoot this film in Goldfield, Nevada. That was, and that was the whole point. It was like, hey, let's go shoot. And let's come up with something we can go shoot in Goldfield, Nevada. And there's this abandoned gold mine, and and so I wrote it to be like, in the middle of the real desert, nothing there, like Area 51 kind of situation. And then you're coming up to this abandoned gold mine and all of this. Well, we never went there. We never even went to Goldfield, Nevada. Then it became Phoenix, Arizona. Then it was Oklahoma. And so we had to somehow adapt this script to where we ended up shooting, and we found some really neat locations. There was a place called Gloss Mountain State Park, which is where a lot of that was filmed, where you see the red dirt and the bits of quartz coming up out of it that looked, like an alien planet. And then We found a place called the Wichita Nature Preserve, and that's in really southern Oklahoma, and that's where that cave was. And we only shot the cave entrance there. We had to drive 5 hours to get there, and it took us 2 hours to hike to the cave just to get that cave
Jesus
entrance
Christ.
shot.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to climb
Amazing.
a mountain and boulders, and that's a whole story into itself. But
And all that heat as well, probably.
oh yeah, it was 100 degrees, and so it was
Bloody hell.
and every day that we shot outside was 100 degrees because we shot over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But we get to this nature preserve and we're like, man, we need to shoot a whole film here because it looks like, Vasquez rocks and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, man, we need to film here.
I'm just going to quickly respond here to your friend Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly crossing my fingers my 8 Trek shorts will end up like they were in my head or close to. Big arc to play out, so I want it all to connect.
We're working on some of those Trek shorts with him. We have Tyler and Pixie are both going to make appearances in his Trek shorts film, which are going to be totally cool. I've seen some previews of what he's planning on doing, and they're going to be and I've read some of the scripts, and they're going to be some really neat films that Sam's going to make.
Cool.
Sam is very creative. He's a Trek fan who knows Trek, and so he seems to have no end of ideas. Like anytime you talk to Sam about Star Trek, it's like this could happen in the Borg and Doomsday Machine and this and that, and he does it on such like an epic scale that you're like, man, the guy never runs out of ideas for stuff he wants to do.
That's Sam Cockings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with all this new Trek coming out as well, maybe we'll get some more ideas.
Yeah. Well, we've got some stuff that we're going to be doing over the next year, where we're going to see Cardassians. We're going to see more aliens, especially even on our own ship, because the Excalibur, Jakande sort of mentions that. As he says, the ship has become infamous because so many people have died. Like, you had 3 captains die, or at least you had 2 captains die, and then 1 captain missing in action. You got 1 first officer missing in action, 1 first officer dead. And so it's like the crews on this ship just keep getting killed. And we're going to go into this thing where we talk about like humans don't even want to serve on this ship anymore. It's like it's become infamous in that they actually are going to talk about how they think the ship itself is haunted.
Mm-hmm.
And people in Starfleet are actually calling it the ghost ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're going to have a scene where Allenby's walking down the corridor with Jakande, and she's just seeing like a Vulcan and an Andorian and a Tellarite and whatever else. And she's like, I've noticed that there aren't a lot of humans on this ship. And he's like, humans don't want to serve on this ship. They're all afraid they're going to die. So it's, it's kind of manned by aliens. Like we may even have like a Roswell Gray with the big eyes and all of that.
Sam, sorry, you've got some more stuff to say here. I've got some Picard era stuff. Quite a bit shot already. Picard flashback uniform stuff. So yes, Picard Lower Decks have directly influenced new ideas. And with Strange New Worlds coming out as well, and currently even with possibly even with Prodigy, I'm not sure if you can get anything out of that. Maybe
he's going to do a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. So.
I was going to say, you've reminded me. I was writing a script. I was trying to write a script of a ship I had come up with in a crew, and the new captain, is talking to the engineer and trying to convince him to come join his. Look, I've got command of a Galaxy class ship, and he says, "Really? They didn't? Is it the Enterprise? No. They're giving that to Picard. Oh, of course. Picard only lost 1 ship."
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing to think about that. Picard commanded a scout ship and lost it. A bunch of people died. And they're like, "Hey, here, be the captain of the flagship."
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. So
when's your next project coming out?
Okay, so we're getting back on it pretty quick. We already have our next script written. We actually have our next 3 scripts written. So we have 3 more that are written, and they hinted at this adventure that they're going to go on at the end of Agent of New Worlds. And that film is going to be called Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs.
Yeah, of course.
Now, when I say the name like that, don't think DC, think more Rick and Morty.
Okay.
And then it's a funny play off of.
So maybe more like Lower Decks then.
Yeah. So they're gonna, just kind of a creative take on. They're going to be interacting with a lot of their doppelgangers from many different universes in this adventure, and there's some stuff like if you notice there, you got these post-credit scenes where we're going to follow the adventure of Mason and Archer, because Mason and Archer are further down the timeline from the other characters, so they're like 2 years in the future from where our characters are now, and so you're going to see them in these post-credit scenes.
That's why we saw Pixie as a captain.
Well, she was in the Prime universe. She's a captain.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, I was trying to grasp that, but it got a little bit. That bit got a little bit confusing. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I see her as a captain. I thought to myself, was that an alternative? I thought I was right. It was an alternative universe.
Yeah.
It was okay.
And so we're going to see her. We're going to see the Prime Universe version of Pixie's character again, who's a captain in the Prime Universe. But ultimately, Tyler and Tori, or Mason and Archer, they're 2.5 years ahead of where our characters are now. So we're going to be seeing them in these post-credit scenes, and then eventually our other characters will catch up to them, and that's when the final arc will begin. But when Allenby contacts Mason, she talks about, we encountered evidence of the cosmic stream, Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs. She's already experienced that adventure there. So that's what she's referring back to as an episode we haven't seen yet. It was kind of a foreshadowing. So we're going to have this, adventure where they encounter their doppelgangers from all these different universes, and the cosmic stream will again play a big part in that. So, and then they're going to get, before they make it to that, before they make it to the Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, there's going to be a little bit of a detour before they get there. There's going to be kind of a shorter film that will, where they kind of get derailed from their mission before they get out there, and they'll have to deal with another issue. Then they'll have that adventure, and then we have another completely unrelated thing planned after that. That'll be a fun bottle episode where we'll see some Cardassians.
Sure.
So your editing and skills. I mean, I guess you're the editor as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fascinating to see how you're going to pull off having doppelgangers, on the same screen together. Have you tried to figure that one out, or have you done that before?
I have. I have a plan for it, and we're working on some tests to figure out how that's going to work. But I do know what I'm going to do. And you'll see 3, 4, 5, 6 versions of the same person on screen at once, and it's going to be crazy. And I hope we can pull it off. But this is the thing that I've been building to for so long, and I really want to. It's the film that really means something to me. So we've got quite a challenge ahead of us. I mean, there were some things in this film that I feel like maybe I I may have I may have painted myself into a corner or tried to do too much. There were some things that maybe people don't notice or not that I tried to do visual effects wise, where I kind of outkicked my coverage a little bit and was kind of frustrated by, but nobody else has complained about it. So I guess it's only bothering me. You're always trying to raise the bar a little bit, and we definitely have a creative challenge ahead of us with that one. Yes, Sam, maybe. Pixie actually wrote that script, the one that we're talking about with Cardassians. Pixie actually wrote that script herself, so that's her film and her vision. And since she got behind us and supported us with this past film, Agent of New Worlds, we've decided that we're going to get behind her as a group, and we're going to support her creative vision in creating that film.
Yeah. Are we going to see more of Star Trek's actual multiverse, or is it just going to be your own multiverse stuff?
No, we're going to see Prime Universe. We're going to see Mirror Universe. We're going to see Orville Universe. We're going to see Babylon 5, Stargate, and Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, because I'm thinking Vance had put me in one where it was the yesterday's Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm glad you didn't mention Star Wars.
The
To tell you
Hemorrhage
the truth.
universe or the Wasteland universe or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, like I say, if you need a Klingon, actually, I could play anything.
You got it, man. We'll figure
But,
something out.
I've always wanted to be the voice of the computer, but like Cockney. All right, mate, how you doing? You know, what I mean, all right, geezer. You know, but I want to be like a Cockney computer. That's what I really want to do so badly.
Well, you got a microphone there.
Oh yes,
We'll have to figure something out with that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they said on the one episode of Doctor Who, where Rose's mom meets him and says, "If he's from another planet, why does he sound like he's from the North?" And the Doctor says, well, "Lots of planets have a North."
Yeah.
So that always comes into my head, like whenever I watch Star Trek, and there's like a Bajoran or whatever with a dead on Brooklyn accent, like. Do they have a Brooklyn? Well, I guess lots of planets have. So, sure.
But yeah, we're going to see a lot of cool stuff.
Okay, so I do apologize, but it's almost 2:00 in the morning here.
All right, yeah, get some sleep. Hey, I haven't slept in 3 days because I literally finished editing that film about 12 hours ago. So
this is the first rest you're going to be getting?
Yeah, I'm ready to like... It's caffeine and ibuprofen for me right now. That's the only
you
thing.
guys have done a great job. I'm actually really excited for your next film. I mean,
thank you, Sam. I appreciate that you guys would take the time to watch it.
Oh, very much so. You know, the knives were out. Don't get me wrong, but we thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, we had a great time, and just seeing the scale of it as well. Like it had good pacing, great sets. I mean, we had earlier in the chat one of our friends who doesn't really follow Star Trek like we do. He was just mesmerized by the look of it because he's not familiar with these sort of fan films. He just saw the sets, the costumes, you know, some of the makeup as well, and he was very impressed. And that's from somebody who doesn't follow it. So, as somebody who does, I pretty much liked all of it. It was really good, and even the parts where you can nitpick, like the look of the caves, you can forgive it because everything else was just so good.
Yeah,
so,
if you go back,
the acting was great as well.
We made the most with what we had, that's for sure.
If you go back and watch our full reaction to this, excuse me, we did take a bit of piss. We did take a bit of piss out of it, but overall, we did enjoy it, and it was very
You got to take a piss on it a little bit, man. You got to have fun. You know, it's all right. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, I was making fun of my own films in this movie, so
yeah. So
exactly. All right. So,
all right, guys, thanks.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
You guys have a great day.
You too. Take care, mate.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.